As Masnisin, our Mishnah, the like Isi ben Yehuda is not like Isi ben Yehuda. We mentioned that Isi ben Yehuda had other names. It's a Gemara Psachim. Isi ben Yehuda was a student of Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua, one of the 5 students of Rabbi Akiva, and his real name, according to the Gemara, is Isi ben Akavia, but the Gemara calls him also Yosef Abavli, Isi ben Gamliel. He has a bunch of names, and I don't know why he has all those names. That would be something interesting if anyone can come back and tell me that. Titania, as we learned in a brisa. So we learned in a brisa, Isi ben Yehuda was a Tana, and he said in a brisa, Isi ben Yehuda Imer, Isi ben Yehuda says, Ratz Chayev, that the one who runs is Chayev. Let's make a comparison here. Here it says Ratz is Chayev. And the explanation is Mipnei Shehu Mishuna. In this case, in the Mishnah, we said Echad Ratz v'Echad Mahalech. If one is running and one is walking, we said that he's Pater. But over here, we say that the runner is Chayev because he's doing something different. And you're doing something abnormal in a public property, that would make you Chayev. You shouldn't have been running. If you see the case here, one person's running, one person's walking. According to the Mishnah, you'd be Pater. According to Isi ben Yehuda, you'd be Chayev. However, Moidi Isi be'erev Shabbos ben Hashmasher shehu Pater. Isi admits. Moide means admits. That Isi admits, that's his name. Be'erev Shabbos, that's an abbreviation. I'll write it over here. Erev Shabbos. Ben Hashmashas. Ben Hashmashas means twilight. Shehu pater, that over there you're pater. Pnei sheratz b'rishus, because you're running with permission. Rishus means permission. Okay, now Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, halacha Isi ben Yehuda. Isi ben Yehuda is the correct halacha. We go like Isi ben Yehuda, that you're going to be chayev, not like the Mishnah. Right away the Gemara says, Umi Amar Rabbi Yochanan hachi. Does Rabbi Yochanan really say so? Hachi means so, or such. Umi Amar Rabbi Yochanan hachi does mean, does he really say so? Va'amar Rabbi Yochanan halacha stam Mishnah. But Rabbi Yochanan says the halacha is like a stam Mishnah. So I just want to point out this is some terminology that's common, and it goes like this: Umi Amar Rabbi, someone, doesn't matter who, hachi, and then it goes Veha Amar, but he says differently. So what I could do is, just for, I'll have to put this back in, but I could show you how the Gemara does this. It's kind of like a Mad Lib. So let's say we erase that. I'll put it back in, don't worry about it. And you would read it like this: Umiyam Arabi. You can add in any name over there. Hachi, does he say so? But he says something different, and then we're going to have to answer up that how to reconcile that. Let's put that back in. Isn't this wonderful? Okay, and now let's put in a question mark. The halacha is like a stam Mishnah, and our problem is that in the Mishnah, which is our Mishnah as we're going to see, we learned that he's pater, and here we say that he's chayev utanan, and we learned in our Mishnah, echad ratz v'echad mahalech, shneim ratzim pturim, if one is running and one is walking, or if they're both running, they're pater. That's the question. So the question started from Umi, and it ends right here. So it's a little bit long because we contrast the halacha being like Isi ben Yehuda, who holds chayev, to the halacha in our Mishnah, which is pater. Now there's no question on Isi, and there's no question on our Mishnah. There's only a question on Rabbi Yochanan. Isi is a Tana. He could say he could argue with the Mishnah, and our Mishnah can say whatever it holds. The problem is that Rabbi Yochanan can't paskin like both. So the Gemara answers, Masnisin be'erev Shabbos bein hashmashas. The Gemara answers that our Mishnah, oh, I erased a little bit of that bein. Let's see if I can fill that in. It's not as good as the original. So, okay. Bein hashmashas. Our Mishnah is talking about erev Shabbos bein hashmashas, and therefore, as you remember, Isi admitted. Let's put in another color so we'll see where Isi admitted that. do it right over here. Maida isi berev Shabbos bein hashmashas. See over there, isi admits. Isi admits that erev Shabbos bein hashmashas is pater, and therefore all we'll have to do is say that our Mishnah is talking about erev Shabbos bein hashmashas, and then we'll have reconciled the Mishnah with isi, and therefore there's no problem with what Rabbi Yochanan says. The only problem is the Gemara says mimai. How do you know that? How do you know that our Mishnah is talking about erev Shabbos? That's a total question right there. Mimai. It literally means from what, but means from what do you know this from? So it's kind of like, how do you know? So there's a very simple explanation, but you have to concentrate to be able to get this. And if you look at these two cases here, the reason why he's going to be pater is because somehow there's permission to run. So let's write over here. Let's just write the word. Let's write allowed to run. What's the reason why over here he's pater? In this case, there's two possibilities. Either he's allowed to run. That's option A. Option B is it's his fault. Let's write victim is, whoops, that's a G. Negligent. Let's try to squeeze it in there. Okay. Now we have to figure out which way it is. And as you see, the Gemara itself will tell us this. Mi diktani aishayu shneim ratzim peturim. From the fact, mi diktani is from the fact that we learned, since we learned. Mi diktani. Tani means to learn. Mi diktani means since we learned. Aishayu shneim ratzim peturim. Hasu lamali. Okay, I'll add this in. Mi diktani means since we learned, and ha su lama li. I don't have room to write it in, but what that means is, why do I need this also? Lama li is why do I need, and su is also. Let's see if I can write it in. Why do I need this also? Okay, su is, in Hebrew, su is oid, or also. I'll write it in up here, also. And lamali is why do I need it? Ha means this. And the question is as follows. You see, if this is dealing with a weekday, and for whatever reason he's allowed to run in the street on a weekday, so in this case where they're both running, it's exactly the same thing. He's also allowed to run. So why do I need to have two cases of when he's allowed to run on a weekday? If he's always allowed to run, so and they're both putters, so what are you gaining by adding another case where this one is running as well? That shouldn't make a difference. If they're both allowed to run, so they should be putter. Hashta echad ratz. Oh, I missed another aleph over here. Okay, another letter. Okay, echad ratz v'echad mahalach putter. Now, hashta means now. One is running and one is walking as pater. Shneim ratzim mibayi. Mibayi means do you need this case when they're both running? If this is pater, this should also be pater. Ella hachikama. Rather, this is what it's saying. And now you're going to see that the reason why this is pater is not because he's always allowed to run. That's not so. Really, echad ratz v'echad mahalach pater. One is running and one is walking. He's pater. Bameh devarim amurim, when. It's not always. Bameh devarim amurim means when. I'll write it in over here. Bameh devarim amurim. When are these words said? Be'erev Shabbos bein hashmashas. I wrote down Erev Shabbos over here. Right? Erev Shabbos. Bein hashmashas. That's only on Erev Shabbos by twilight when there's permission to run. Aval b'chal. But if this case would have taken place in a weekday, echad ratz v'echad mahalach is chayiv. So he's allowed to run only, that will add in, on abbreviation. On Erev Shabbos he's allowed to run. However, in a weekday, he would be chayiv. However, shneim ratzim, but if they're both running, afilu b'chal p'turim, then even on a weekday, if they're both running, even on a weekday, is going to be pater. Now the explanation is not because he's allowed to run on a weekday. We have to cross that out. Let's get a darker color and we'll cross out number A. That's not the explanation. The reason why he's pater is because over here the victim was negligent. So if this is not talking about Erev Shabbos, this is talking about a weekday, then we would have said that you're always allowed to run, and these cases are exactly the same. But once we know that you're not always allowed to run, and this case is dealing with Erev Shabbos, so why is this case pater? It's not Erev Shabbos. The chiddush of this case is that the victim is negligent. Now, if this case would have, if both cases would have been Erev Shabbos, and you're allowed to run, so then I would be back in the same problem with why do we need two cases? So obviously they must be talking about different times. This is talking about Erev Shabbos, this is talking about a weekday, and this has a special reason, and I'm going to circle the reason. That's because of that. It's because of, let's get a different color so we'll see that we're dealing with. The reason why is because he, the victim, was negligent. And the reason why he's pater is because he's allowed to run. Okay, and that's only on Erev Shabbos are you allowed to run, but in a weekday where you're not allowed to run, the reason why he's pater for causing those damages is because he was running and he shouldn't have.